Welcome to the labyrinth. It watches those it leads astray. Stare too long at a wall, and it will design for you a trap. We travel its deceitful corridors in search of dreams we cannot catch, lures that allude to better paths. Many are led astray. They walk the halls of darkness seeking light they seldom find. The labyrinth is everywhere, shifting, moving walls that block the curious and drive them insane with meandering. It mocks those who search, who pattern search, who leave breadcrumbs as markers, who scratch waymarks on walls that erase their efforts. The labyrinth defies those who touch. It's bitter to the taste. It echoes noises unfamiliar, is visible in glimpses that pass out of memory, and entices with aromas those it leads into pits and mires. We are born into this maze of Midgard and made to believe that the true path is found in wise instruction, in ancient sayings difficult to know, in the words of gods penned in the candlelight of sycophants. That's right, I said psycho. This labyrinth exults in the brilliant, in the intrepid researcher. It takes pleasure in the efforts of genius, and it has observed countless billions of souls lose themselves in its dark passages and hallways. False signs, the burning torches of strange fire, lying statues, the labyrinth leads astray the whole world, past and present, ever seeking to lead its victims into portals that only lead them back into the maze. But there is one the labyrinth fears, the soul that stops following the design of the demiurge and only looks within. This soul ceases to see the world through sight and begins to follow the inner light. This individual the labyrinth cannot contain, for they no longer follow strange fire. There are many of us inside this maze, but the more we contemplate this environment we find ourselves to be in, the more it seems to unravel, to be constructed of the same substance as dreams. The instant you acknowledge something, you crystallize it into your reality. See something that you perceive as negative or harmful, then it takes up those properties as applied to you, and reality knits them into your experience. You have set in stone for you what is not so affixed to others. We participate in creating reality all the time. So wonderful, so receptive is this holography of infinite potential that it is shaped and modified by souls that have found themselves within it. The world around us reflects back as life the impressions it received from us. Those imposing their beliefs that the world is a construct set to devour them are victims of a feedback loop first imported into this holofield by someone who had taught that. But you don't have to believe it. The world is bigger than the projections you attempt to place upon it. Quit walking through life absorbing the energies of other souls, because this creates for you a life of merely reacting to external stimuli. Instead, emit your own power. Be a beacon of energetic, imaginative ideas and desires. Broadcast your wants through your activities. An unhappy receiver or a happy siren of spiritual broadcasting that brings into your life those things wanted and similar in nature. Our reality is 0.0001% physical, and everything you perceive is actually projected from within you and the others that are in your simulated world. That this world is a mental construct with virtually no physical barriers means that you have the opportunity to alter your life. Or you can let the news networks, opinions of friends, attitudes of neighbors, preconceived notions, religious teachings of guilt, or false scientific theories build your life for you. Choose your life as it is and remain where you are, or wake up and become a power station of new thinking that will quickly knit for you new circumstances and new opportunities, because from the beginning, the obstacles were all self-created. We are complex biograms, a spiritual software passing from one-dimensional matrix to another. The answers lie not in the book, but in the reader. In my experience, I found many religionists to be a miserable lot. Pious, judging the world to condemn themselves, believing that the outside world of phenomena was not in some way projected from within, seeking in a physical a destination they believe is hidden despite the mouth of wisdom once saying, "The kingdom of God is within you." In the interludes between journeys or lifetimes, we remember who we are and where we're going. Each life allows us to experience reality from a different vantage point because a perfect Godhead would not condemn the ignorant. And until a soul has fulfilled all of their birth-death journeys, they remain without knowledge, innocent. This is why the selfless act of an instant can erase a lifetime of guilt. Guilt is a debt to be spiritually discharged by acts that positively affect others, for we are all at different stages of immortal development. Reality is a holosphere of activity, multi-dimensional programming wherein flow billions of spiritual subroutines. Death is not an escape. It's a renewal, a return to youth to live through a system reboot to acquire more experiences. Religions are archaic software, governors set in place to maintain spiritual arrested development. Religions instill guilt, but the Godhead is beyond good and evil. Only by freedom and error can spirits truly grow. The hardware ages and passes, but the intellect and emotion, spiritual qualities, live on. One's belief influences the direction their programming will assume. It is entirely up to the dying as to where their programming will have them appear next. A confident person, pleased with how they had lived their life, is reborn into better circumstances that reflect that confidence. The soul that believes that they had done horrible things in life reflects that programming when they die or in their exit from this holography. Guilt is an illusion. It is self-imposed, a dark programming to be ignored. Be at peace. Know that mistakes, failures, even temporary misdeeds do not permanently weaken the divine architecture that is your immortal personality. We break free or die trying, knowing with confidence that no matter the shadowy valleys we have stumbled through, we were deemed worthy in the first place to be sent into this experience. This is me, Jason. These are images of me at various coordinates of my life. Who I am from destination to destination may not be the same, but these fractals of my existence build a holographic picture of the personality who inhabits this ever-changing avatar. Immersed within the frenetic situations of chaotic routines that we call life, we forget that in essence, we are purely oscillating fields of energy. This world saturates us with information that triggers genetic responses to survive, to eat, to get rest, to get along, to be social, to conform. Clever stratagem. The simulacrum convinces us we are the house and not the inhabitant. We lose ourselves in dressing our bodies while starving our souls. But this has been the way for a very long time. There are hints that we have been here before, have run these races in the past. Routines, repetitive sequences, suppressed memories, haunted by recollections that seem not to be our own, and yet trapped within our own heads. Ghosts. There are spectral images floating within our being of former times and places, of courts and colonies, shipping decks and dungeons. This riddle of life is that one lifetime is not enough. The oversoul is of equity, and there is no fairness in the cards as they are dealt. Some are born into wealth and know not a single day of hunger in their lives, while others are born into a nightmare situation for which not a chance was afforded them from the moment they assumed this avatar. The clues are all around us. To judge all souls by the same standards requires a system that gave all involved the same chances, and this line of reasoning leads to inescapable conclusions. Our ancestors believed in the cycle of lives, that in death one goes through trials, is weighed in the balances, and is sent back. The same soul that walks the aisles of Walmart once died on ancient battlefields. School teachers and firemen, officers and lawyers in former times, they lived their lives out as avatars of colonial plantations waiting for their twice yearly visits by Phoenician supply ships. Truckers, models, and pilots today don't remember when they filled the amphitheaters of the Aegean with their lyrics and their laughter. You may have walked the halls of Pharaoh, been a seamstress in Atlantis, milked cows in the hamlet that was later built up into the great city of York, mined copper in the Great Lakes regions of the 3rd millennium BC in North America, or drowned in some Mediterranean war, chained to a trireme with 40 other screaming slaves sent to the bottom of the abyss. Homeless husks with hollowed eyes wander our streets today, unmindful that they once sat upon jewel-embroidered thrones. White supremacists sitting in their prison cells today, who they would balk if they knew, if they saw through time to the villages of the dark continent they once called home. In Tokyo, the men who hate their Chinese neighbors, they could not fathom how they once filled the ranks of the Khan's armies that sacked cities to fill the Chinese coffers. We mourn when our innocent youth are taken so early in life, our material programming inducing us to lament the unfairness of it all, unrealizing that the divine dictate, even written in the scriptures, applies. They are taken to keep them from the evil to come. These most holy spirits are removed because their continued existence within a particular avatar would only injure their purity. These souls move on and quickly return to fulfill divine roles within another avatar. These are the spiritual giants. Their shortened lives are in preparation for the great works that they will do in the next incarnation when they are really needed. Torches against the coming darkness. You, your friends, family, and foreigners have all lived multiple lifetimes. You have seen countless conflicts, miracles, lived out legends, and outlived your own sons and daughters. Through the progression of time and empires, before the Ubayyads and the Sumerians and the Akkadians and the Urartuans, the Aryans, the Cometians in northern Egypt, Persians and Romans, Byzantine Empire, the Arabian Saracen Empire. We have all been multiple cultures, multiple people. Through diseases and drought, our avatars have wasted away while the soul within is refined. It is strengthened. This divine personality is being forged into an immortal. Death is the gate of the holy. All souls are given the same opportunities. And when the cycle has come full circle, then the oversoul is justified. For every soul weighed in the balance will be examined. These lives we live are for the development of an eternal personality. We have not yet begun to really live. At this time, we are being built. As I always say, we are more than we suppose ourselves to be. Because this life is a path, a journey, the souls within it can't see the end destination. We are moving towards something great, but the building of something magnificent requires friction, the removal of base materials, the attrition of aggregates that we have mistakenly clung to. To remove the dross from the cauldron is to expose the silver beneath. The suspicion that this existence was illusory, that the only things really real here are us, is very old. From ancient Egypt, the learned tried to piece together the puzzle, describing the kingdom of Seeker that souls travel to after death, to the hidden gate of Rostau, of resurrection and rebirth. Some described reincarnation and based future avatars off of past deeds, trying to make sense of it all. But I imagine that we have often come close, but never arrived at the truth. I imagine the fairness of an oversoul that would give all spirits the same opportunities, the same chances, the same gifts, and the same hurdles to overcome. And this would be accomplished simply by creating an artificial world where real spirits could live out artificial lives inside artificial avatars and be able to do it over and over and over again from different perspectives. And I imagine all this was necessary because the real universe is going to surprise us all. We do not enter this world a blank slate. The echoes of memories we feel are true but belong to others haunt our youth. We recall the lives of great men and women, and the hardened souls of adult cocoons condescend, stealing from our imaginations, our recollections of lives past and future. We grow slowly, an ancient world having become new all over again, as the gossamer thread of a soul's past journeys are clouded into uncertainties that set like suns of doubt and bring the night of disbelief. When young, the world makes us forget how old we truly are. As we grow into our new avatars, we experience the past that lies just beyond the veil through spells of imagination that hide from their true forms as memory. We speak of castles, gates, voyages, great deeds, and lives lived well. We are small and ignored in a world full of calcified carcasses, whose avatars have become containers rather than the conduits they were designed to be. We grow into a world designed to make the immortal believe in death, to fear, a realm where pleasures reinforce the importance of the avatar over the personality within. As we move forward through the construct, the world teaches us to shed our innocence, to discard our faith in fairy tales as we are offered the deceitful phantoms of ghost writers, responsible for weaving spells called science, religion, and dark sayings disguised as doublespeak, the utterances of modern demons deigning to divorce souls from their immortalhood. We are blinded immortals made to grow into the blame for a world that had fallen long before we made entrance. In this photo negative of a real reality, in this false maelstrom of phenomena we call home, we are deceived, blinded, misled, conditioned, indoctrinated, and led down paths of corruption, roads paved like the march of a Roman victory on bricks mortared of vice. But we are guilty of nothing the chains of religion or dungeon jewelry the living dead wear in pride as they march toward conveyances that whiplash their souls back to previous epochs, where they must grow, learn, and awaken from their illusions. The process of awakening is as complex as those who emerge from this painted darkness. We are souls saturated with programming serving to shelve us both as merchandise and merchants, to induce us to give our avatar an identity apart from the immortal within. We are taught to be the man, to be the woman, to be the very actor that makes every place a stage and every observer an audience. This world seeks to separate the soul from the self by empowering the identity of the avatar. It is this assault against the immortal within that children struggle against, this loss of innocence, this oppression over potential that forces a soul to choose between absolutes and abstracts. But we are multifaceted beings, each aspect of our divine personality moored to the timeless fabric of the immortal within, who is connected to Source. We are extensions of the Oversoul and believe we are one thing and not another is tantamount to denying the deity within. As unending sparks from the eternal fire, our immortality is exhibited in the many personages we have been, we are, and who we will be. The temporal journey of a single soul merely wears this avatar garment as they flow through the experiences of the construct, but the avatar nor the field of energies that forms the dungeon dressings of this reality can hold power over the truly awakened soul. The soul that begins to awaken has grown in realization that to accuse another soul is not only to accept the same fate, to pigeonhole an orator as a prophet or a dark profiteer, is only to absorb the very energies of the accusation. The awakened soul is one that has returned to that innocence of youth, boundless potential, depth of emotion, and endless imagination. The awakened being exults in the feeling of freedom from within the avatar, the emerging knowledge that all aid from the Oversoul was never to be found in things that are seen and heard, but from within. The awakened is the soul that has found the bottomless pit of bounty, energy, and spiritual empowerment was always accessed from within, and that each soul is a portal to the Absolute. The awakened immortal laughs at the trickeries of Loki, seeing now that parables are falsities transmuted into facts by the immortal within. We are the Brahma of many faces, each as true as the others. We are a family of immortals awakening in numbers as more souls have their eyes opened, not by acuity or learning, but by the will of the Oversoul. The construct ages, its malfunctioning perceived in the manifold anomalies. The synchronicities now appearing unfiltered, the deja vu and Mandela effects of a deconstructing construct in advanced stages of a coming reset protocol. The soul awakening is a force felt through the entire field, and their names are known beyond the construct. While within, these immortals break free of dungeon realms designed as pillowed paradises for the sleeping masses. Our avatars are labeled, tagged, some marked as champions, healers, teachers, and some sealed with scarlet letters the world assigns in its attempts to shame them into silence. Avatars are as diverse as their inhabitants. Some are hideous and old, regarded as monstrous or forgotten by the sleeping masses, yet possessing spiritual titans who have mastered their coordinates through the construct. Our avatars come in many forms and guises, and the magnificence of the souls within remain unseen to the living dead. Some of us in this incarnation are fortunate to make contact with avatars hauntingly beautiful, their beauty matched only by the breathless realization of an equally gorgeous soul within. Beauty of both avatar and spirit is evidenced of a soul that has suffered through trials, endured scars, and traversed paths not usually taken by other spirits. When two souls connect, it is because they have shared the same histories in spirit, though separated in avatars. The awakened immortal has broken free of the accusers, of the shepherds that serve to guide unwary spirits into the pens of politics, religion, and culture. The knight-errant goes their own way, walks unfrequented paths, and goes by paths unknown. The world sees such individuals as outcasts, unworthy to participate in the whims of the world. The living dead cannot see that the act of defining others only serves to impose those definitions upon themselves. The accusers claiming one to be a Christian actually refuses to accept everything else that soul is as well. To accuse one of being a mystic dismisses the other facets such a gem possesses. To identify another soul as any particular is to deny them their many other attributes. The knight-errant is a creatrix who forges her own paths through the field. She builds her Elysium and lives her truth as the simulacrum obeys her dictates. She is a soul that refuses to have others' interpretations of reality imposed upon her, and this fortitude is rewarded by the Oversoul. The knight errant is a man with an idea so alien to the sleeping masses that it actually wakens up many of them. Regardless of the armies of opposers, this soul forges through the breach effortlessly as the simulacrum builds his imaginative musings from the field to the physical. I am Jason. I am who I choose to be. I am an immortal being having a temporal experience, and the source of all my own personal calamities is due to a soaring spirit possessed of imagination, of boundless intuition, and spells of empathy. I exhibit these qualities in every echelon of my existence, and I have expended my life in the education of those few souls who dare to be touched by the divine, to remember who they are. Who I am and who I claim to be is evidenced in what happens in the lives of those who assail me. Dedicated to a holy work, my presence, my teachings, the knowledges I have excavated from the treasuries of history have pulled out the dark souls, one by one, as they have uttered venomous animus at my person, at my work, at my community, and in every case they have regretted it. Against immense odds, the Oversoul provided the path, and I merely walked it. I may have begun this journey alone, but in this trek across the similosphere, many of you ancient souls have joined me, and together we have grown this community. Let us not view this voyage as an end, but a beginning. Archaix, Advanced Research of Chronological History of Artificial Intelligence X, is where we come together, and through our solidarity, we slowly pluck kindred souls from the fire. Every moment we are alive, we carry with us a bioresonant field, an auric energy containing the sum total of every thought you have ever possessed, or has possessed you. You are the memories you believe to be true, the desires you have carried, the emotions you have allowed to direct the rhythm of your ways. You are way more than you suppose yourself to be, an immortal imprisoned in sense perceptions designed to induce you to believe in a biology that is subject to external causes, in a present that exists solely due to a random past, in societies that serve to distract you from learning who and what you really are. Our current reality is a containment field orchestrated to keep you distracted, disenchanted, disinherited. Nothing is more powerful than the awakened human. No chains can restrain, no barriers can prevent entrance, no riddles remain unanswered, no dungeon of this demiurge can stamp out the eternal fire of a soul that is ignited. The living do not fear death. The veil is a friend to all who comprehend that death is the gate of the holy, the passage of those who hurt, who wage the war of life, those who carry burdens no others would lift. The war over good and evil, light and darkness of the heavens and the hells has never been our war. We humans are guiltless. An enemy has striven for eons to blind humanity from seeing that the creation is our inheritance, that we will soon replace those who have fallen, that we are the Godhead shattered into 100 billion personalities flowing through simulated reality tunnels, all constructed as traps designed to deceive we immortals, that we had to fear the veil, that death was an end and not an escape from a holospheric cocoon. Who we are has much to do with where we have been. There are some among us who suffer a divine disease, an inability to keep quiet. I am one of these people who constantly pull secrets from the reserves they didn't even know they contained. If you believe the age of prophets was thousands of years ago, then very soon you are going to be shocked. An order of seers is emerging right now in society. They are about to begin raising standards against this darkness of our world that has not been experienced since before the cataclysm. As you listen, our enemy strives to flood human consciousness with numerous theories about the past and nature of reality. A desperate attempt to create diversion to keep as many souls as possible from identifying and joining the light bearers, to keep the majority as victims rather than victors. Know that when the darkness begins to move on multiple fronts, it is because the light has surfaced somewhere and the light bearer is moving. Remember, there are no accidental meetings between souls. You found Archaix because something you are searching for is within these posts, articles, and videos. The hordes of the Demiurge are unable to break the bonds that are forged between kindred souls. The storm is coming. It takes on forms of deceit that attempt to ensnare. We are navigators on a sea that tries to swallow us before we can find the guidance of a lighthouse. The same eyes that see the world today are those that watched in elder times. The search for God is ancient. The Oversoul has provided light in the darkness, havens through the chaos, fortresses in wars, and food during famine. We knew that when we began this journey, it would be fraught with pain, with loneliness, and with sorrow, but not death. We are cocooned immortality, our vastness concentrated into so many divine sparks twinkling in and out of this beautiful holography. We search because we are spirits still trying to cope with being physical, immersed within a medium that allows us to feel and experience lives and deaths as if they were truly happening. The negative default programming that supports this construct keeps the majority enslaved in a paradigm devoid of the miraculous, where souls are chained to the predicates of the past rather than free to invent, to feel, to create new futures. But this construct is reaching its terminus. The gate has always been here. The enemy has laid innumerable traps, has plagued us with deceit and with troubles. But the cover is being removed. Timelines are unraveling. The apocalypse does draw nigh. It is the unveiling. To the lost, this period will seal their fates. These drones of the Demiurge, NPCs, soulless avatars. But to those who seek to see, the apocalypse is an unveiling, for that is what it means to uncover. And the people will discover who they truly are. That we are more than we suppose ourselves to be. The final appearance of the doom shape will separate the living from the dead. And those with understanding will have the scales removed from their eyes and will witness the fate of the betrayers. For the great tribulation was never meant for the inheritors of the earth, the meek, but for those who sought to rule it. It is by a more accurate assessment of the past do we clearly see the future. We live within a field of frequencies, and these frequencies are patterned in multiple dimensions of pi, phi, inertia, entropy, and permeate throughout multiple dimensions via fractal equivalence. The everyday phenomena we experience is because these frequencies are arranged in feedback loops that repeat themselves. Many of us understand that thoughts have frequencies, that aligning our behavior with the things we seek in life will bring those desired things into contact with us. But an intellectual recognition that thought has this power is not enough to create the situation where thinking attracts what is thought of. More is required. To imprint any one thing upon this medium of holography we call reality requires the building of an informed field. One of the most practiced elements of magic is ritual. Performing rituals involves repetition, and this outward action of ritual done with thoughtful intent and imagined outcome generates this informed field in the holosphere. In a holography of coding, the environment of frequencies is changed by an informed field. It absorbs the new coding just like the ripples on a pool from two different epicenters flow as they flow through one another. An informed field is created when a mental picture of something is broadcast strongly and is backed up with some kind of physical activity. Ritual, repetition, patterning. The informed field is a holographic broadcast by the ritual into the holosphere to be absorbed into the surrounding field and reflected back as phenomena. What you think every day as you do the same things every day is physicality and non-locality coexist in a medium that absorbs fictions you broadcast and transmutes them into facts you experience. This is spiritual alchemy. Quit wishing and fantasizing. Build your own informed fields by serious contemplation of what you want and then perform repetitive acts to support your idea. My name is Jason, but who I am is not apparent. Living in the present moment is not a practice that I have mastered. With my eyes I gaze upon a beautiful veil, an inner haunting whispering that things I see are not as they pretend to be. What is this insatiable curiosity? Why does my heart deny the evidence of my senses? How did I become so disconnected from the synthetic associations I see all around me? I meet another human and they instantly flee, sensing a deviation they misunderstand. They walk away, not understanding that I looked at the structuring of their personality, for I'm blind to the cultural dressings that mean so much to the living dead. When I come in contact with other souls, I see their guardedness, the layers they have armored themselves within. My own soul cries a lamentation of loneliness, though I sit in a room full of spirits too busy being people. A curse on this divinity. My immortality has uncovered this vast gulf of what I am compared to what I want to be. These traits of a God within that just seeks to be one of the herd. But I don't fit in. The magnitude of my understanding has hollowed my heart, this engine that keeps me alive, this undead machine that I'm trapped inside. Heavy is the head who wears the crown is an old saying, it's not mine. Heavy is the heart who peers through the veil. The weight of the past has impressed upon my soul this wearisome fortitude to share what others are prepared to receive while swallowing this acid of information I dare not convey. Sometimes I curse this God, this scribe who has etched his revelations upon the gossamer fragility of my spirit, as if I was strong enough to bear them. I revolt against this peace, the path that I have fought. The insincerity in others fuels the furnace within me. I betray myself every time I bite my tongue. I try to be free of anger as I censure these puppets of a pretended reality who seem to have no purpose other than getting in my way. I am a ghost dragging chains that I despise, a phantom of what I want to be but seem to never become. At this crossroads, I stand at the river Styx, looking back on a past I can't believe I survived and a future I don't want to endure, not in these garments. Who I am cannot be separated from who I strive to be, but the distance between the two souls widens the more I strive to join one with the other. Though I am told I am alive, the inner chords of a silent song within my soul sings to me otherwise. I am a shadow unable to comprehend the light, a corrupted vessel meant to hold something entirely else. My name is Jason, but this is the name of a shell that enshrouds a thing I can't define. I am me, though what I am is still unknown to me, clinging to the lies I thought were truths that I've often sought. A curse on this treacherous curiosity. I study myself, my environment, and those other souls that sail the simulated sea. I search and notice how unreal are my experiences, that I am most alive in my moments of solitude, my silent time spent with myself. When I focus on something, I'm alive. But when I begin to study the world around me, one of two things happens. My mind drifts back through time to the past, and I relive memories, or I am thrust far into the future by the fertility of my imagination. Both are just as real to me as many of my moments spent in this false reality. Though I am more than I suppose myself to be, the potential I acquire in the day is erased by this simulacrum when I sleep. No matter my gains, this nervous system anchors me to a sea I no longer want to swim. but I cling to this buoy, adrift in this abyss, unable to let go and sink into the comfortable deep until I know for sure that I have reached every soul I was meant to touch. I'm ready to go, but my life is not my own. I yearn for what my potential foreshadows, eager to be more than I've become while weighed down by the knowledge I know that in this life it won't come to pass. Break free or die trying, my friends. Proof that you are truly immortal, or how you make the holosphere build for you. The place of human personality in the Newtonian universe of physicality is that of a tiny speck of insignificance inside a vast cosmos. But we do not live in this false version of reality. We exist as an auric field of information we call self that is immersed within and intrinsically connected to a greater cloud of data fields and streams that we call reality. Programmed to regard these information fields as physical, we believe we are in a solidified material existence. But it's all programmed, and we are highly localized data clouds that exist within, move about inside, and are jacked into this greater surrounding holography. And this fact affords each one of us incredible power. The problem, though, is twofold. The default programming saturating us every single day reinforces the ideas that we are physical and with limited capabilities. And second, recognition of the fact that we are powerful is intellectual only and not enough to induce self-created programming to affect the oversoulic programs that control your daily life, the reality tunnels that you experience. Smarts and knowledge is never enough. This puts everyone on an equal playing field. Our lives are built upon a framework of probabilities, not exact certainties. Probability molds are ghost programming that exist that by your intent or expectation become new programming for your life. The key is totally spiritual, divorced of intellect and learning. The key to the simulacrum is our imagination. By imagination, we create reality for ourselves and for others. Imagination is creative because imagined influences are accepted as real by the simulacrum capable of modifying reality. A quiet, focused meditation imagining builds an informed field. The more details imagined, the more powerful the informed field becomes. Informed fields are fantasies that can become facts. It is simple. Quietly build a picture in your mind of what you want to experience. In doing so, you are building an informed field. Detail this with specifics. Who, what, when, why, where. The more you paint the mental picture, the more you empower the informed field. But it's just a field. It needs to be brought in resonance with the greater holospheric field you are immersed within. Or your field will collapse back into nothing, which happens all the time. It's called daydreaming. To bring your self-generated informed field in resonance with the surrounding builder coding protocols of the holosphere, you must then A, feel the feelings of how you will feel when your desire is brought to pass in true experience. And this can only be done by a spiritual being, because to feel something that has not yet occurred requires imagination. Emotion is recognized by the builder protocols and acted upon in accordance to the informed field blueprint you provide. And B, release the informed field, which is done in two ways. Be thankful, feel gratitude for it, and two, just let it go, meaning it is to be no more worried about. And C, your daily life is an informed field interfacing with both your released informed fields and the builder protocols. The more you act as if your desire already exists, the faster the builder programming rearranges reality tunnels of informed fields to bring to pass what you are broadcasting as real. There's no mystery here. We build informed fields every single day. Unfortunately, they are mostly a suffering of the same life routines, or they collapse because there is no follow-through, such as I just itemized in steps A, B, and C. This is how I brought thousands of old books and reports to me while unmoving in a prison cell. This is how I attracted friends, colleagues, benefactors, publishing contracts from a prison cell when I could not travel. This is how I survived upon my release from Texas prison, socially retarded, unaware of the ways of the world, after 26 years confined since I was 17 years old, when they released me with $100. This is why your life is what it is today. But recognizing what's happening can now empower you to build something new. We are immortals with God protocols coded within the fabric of our souls that is deeper than DNA. You are so powerful that if you believe something is not possible for you, then it will become impossible. Or you can embrace your inheritance, this immortal imagination that forces the builder programs to respond. We are more than we suppose ourselves to be. Don't wait for death to be immortal. It was under a violent sky that you first came to the surface. From the deep you emerged with others who sought to explore the world above. It was not long before you laid eyes upon the others, those who had survived from the world before, who had forgotten everything as they had remained on the surface. The centuries passed, and you found yourself at a potter's wheel for a vintner of the city of Badtabira of the Pentopolis, before it too was buried in the Typhon flood. You sailed on in spirit to emerge in the land between the rivers, in the dust of ancient Sumer, where the Tigris and Euphrates whispered secrets. You were born. A farmer toiling under the relentless sun, planting seeds that echoed your own cycle of rebirth. Your hands, weathered and wise, sowed the first chapter of an epic journey. As the pages of time turned, you emerged in Assyria, an artisan of sculpting stories in stone. With each chisel stroke, you captured the might of kings, only to crumble like your own creations, succumbing to the death. On Phoenician shores, you, now a daring navigator, harnessed the winds, your sails blooming like the purple dye that colored your city's fame. In the embrace of the sea, you found your demise, leaving whispers in the waves. In the heart of Egypt, beneath the shadow of the pyramids, you lived as a scribe. Hieroglyphs danced from your fingers, a ballet of ink and papyrus. But even you, a chronicler of eternity, fell prey to a plague, your stories outliving your breath. In Persia's grandeur, you, adorned in silk, whispered counsel in the ears of kings. A vizier, wise yet unseen, until the blade of intrigue cut your thread of life. Amidst the glory of Greece, you, a philosopher, pondered the mysteries of existence, yet, in irony's embrace, found your end in hemlock's bitter kiss. In the Roman Empire, you marched a legionnaire, shield and sword in hand. In battle's fiery dance, you fell, leaving your valor as a testament to time. In Constantinople, you, a spirited merchant, traded goods and tales alike. Yet fate, the greatest merchant of all, bartered your life for a plague's cruel touch. In Moravian France, your voice rang out in court, a minstrel weaving tales of love and loss. But even your melodies could not deter the silent approach of age. In the shadows of Wallachia, you, a monk, transcribed ancient texts for the Dracul. Your ink a bridge between worlds, yet in the irony of fate you perished in a fire, your own words fueling the flames. As a Viking you roared across the seas, a warrior fierce and unyielding, yet in the irony of a peaceful shore you met your end, not in battle, but in the quiet embrace of sickness.
In Norman times, you built castles stone upon stone, a mason with dreams as lofty as his towers. But dreams are fragile, and you fell upon the very height you sought to conquer. In Anglo-Saxon lands, you, a farmer, once again plowed the earth, history repeating in furrows and fields. But war knows no boundaries, and you fell to a conqueror's sword. In Ireland, you whispered with the wind, a druid, keeper of ancient lore. Yet, even you, attuned to nature's rhythm, could not escape the march of time, succumbing to the quiet end of a well-lived life. In the misty halls of Wales, you became a bard, your voice carrying the weight of legends and songs. In your melodies, the druidic echoes of past lives resonated until your voice faded with the setting sun. In the bustling streets of Victorian England, you, now a watchmaker, crafted timepieces, each tick a reminder of your temporal journey. Yet, in a twist of fate, you were claimed by the very time you sought to measure. On the turbulent seas, you hoisted sails as a pirate under the East India Company's shadow. In the pursuit of treasure and freedom, you found your end, not by sword or storm, but by betrayal's sharp sting. In North American colonies, you, a fervent patriot, fought for a new beginning. Your ideals, as bullets and blade, clashed in revolution's fiery heart, where you fell, your dreams birthing a nation. Finally, in modern Germany, you walk as a scholar, a fusion of past wisdom and present knowledge. In libraries and streets, you seek the threads of your past lives, each step a journey through history's tapestry. You are the immortal within. These experiences are life sims in the field of the oversoul. Each unfolding act in the spiritual drama is a ripening of the harvest soon to come. Each death is a chrysalis shed from a growing soul on its way to being adopted into an infinity unknown until experienced. You are the king and serf, the learned and ignorant, the carefree and oppressed. We have all been helmsmen at the fore, or rowers expanding our strength just to ensure another's passage, and at times, some of us have even walked the plank. We are both the poem and poet, and in these dark times, we are both the observer and the standard bearer, that others may know that we are unmoved in this war for the soul, because the fight was never ours. In our search for substance, we have found spirit, our identity in this dungeon realm. We are prodigal souls, vagabonds wandering through a hell we've mistaken for home. We are fallen stowaways and meandering rogues, forced against the current by wicked winds to piracy and plunder. Tattered sails on sinking ships. On every tide we seek new shores, mariners of the oversoul, destined for islands beyond this wine-dark sea. We have emerged from ghost ships, lost in time, from broken families, their sewage and sorcery. On this sea of madness, we escape the cults of personalities from the ranks and reefs of the dead and diseased. And in every passage through this paradise of hate, our oars have been ordered by the Ancient of Days under the circling shars. We are kindred souls, rowing through waters that despise our fellowship. Krakens, storms, and rudders worn resist our passage. But spirit is the wind that fills our sails. We are the dreams of Delphic smoke, of naked oracles ecstatically murmuring futures in the past. We are the dream and the dreamer, the punished poltergeist, ghost in the fog haunting the spectral plane. We errants are derelict souls, fearless descendants of Jinn, genies in bottled prisons who gave up our lives that others could live. We are the torch bearing light to a world worshipping darkness.
the spark of an infinite fire. We are shards of a mirrored creatrix, an oversoul fractalized so she can be perceived by her heirs. As inheritors of this wisdom, we are errants, escapees of programmed dungeons, fossilized beliefs in digital enslavement. We are the tree and the druid, and our song is heard in the chords that connect us. We are the waters above of a liquid heaven flowing through a parched and mummified world, this realm of the undead. In this desert, barren soulscape, we are the breeze passing through this deserted carnival of carcasses. We are the custodians of occult wisdom, of the secrets of seers, of profane knowledges made holy by ciphers we are made to see and perceive. Who knew that treasure would be found in dragons' lairs? Within this phantasmal kingdom, we are the Fae, lost in unremembered races now glimpsed only in slumber, the angels of a former epic. Immortals, we are chosen, elect, and guided through the fires of Molech, that we may rescue wayward souls. Together we sail this Argo of prodigal souls, catching sight of fleeting worlds we left behind like islands vanishing in the mist. Aboard our vessel, we see the future in memory, that prophecy is but an unrealized past. The house of Asgard, lost in a Midgardian labyrinth, seeking an ancient gate. We pull the oars when the sky abandons our sail, knowing that each failure is but a milestone through this hellscape. We have fallen for traps only to gain experience, a legion of immortals empowered by every goal we never reached. We have navigated the valley of the shadow of death, seeing in shallow waters things that are deep. Aboard this Argo, every sailor is an expression of the all, our blood of divine chords, humming harmonies only the elect can hear. Our music is of songs our spirits know from eras when bards sang visions in the starlight. The ancient song speech, brewed from recipes in the cauldron of the Norns. At the helm we suffer the irony of the hourglass, draining one epic as it builds another. This Argo has sailed through avarice and lust, malice and murder, a troop of mourners. Through storms and seasons, war and famine, we've sought Valhalla and our Valkyries. Driven off course, marooned by man but saved by spirit, the world calls us vampires and vixens, witches and whores. But we are she-wolves in spiritual silk, disguised from a realm that condemns on appearances. Blessed gnosis, that we are made in the essence of the Oversoul. This knowing is that we have not been forgotten, but preserved as a spiritual army of immortals hammered on the anvil of heaven. Forged together into an undying masterpiece, we court an incendiary billows of pain that transmutes mistakes into reward, poisons into antidotes, problems into solutions. And we have learned to be lost is the purpose of living. Aboard this Argo, we capture prizes, and in dividing the spoils, we find that half is often worth more than whole. The blind see us as a ship of fools. We tread through a zephyr furnace, a fire-hardened vessel, a clay born in the kiln of divinity. Our crew suffers indignities to betray our limitations. Every shore unreached, every prize uncaptured, every journey unfinished, all a part of the bulwarks of divine experience. Argonauts, marked as outcasts and unholy, but in truth we bear the seal of the living God. We have unloaded our burdens, discharging debt with each genuine act of forgiveness. The undead curse the vagrant sojourners, blind to the moorings to source connecting all immortals. Written off by a world of poisoned poets, we have overcome every prejudiced prison machination of Mephistopheles. But the enemy sharpen their wit to dull their senses. Their mirth at our misfortunes are written in the halls of Asgard, where in Futhark we wear the scarlet rune. Evangelical evil, accusing innocents of guilt, blaming the sheep for the acts of their shearers. Pulpit vipers, spewing venom masked as verses. Hypocrites, from their lust they lure their flocks into stained glass dungeons, ensnaring the unsuspecting in dark mariner speech. They indenture the free in abyssal agreements, paying Apollo for poisons in mortuaries called pharmacies. Inhuman irony, submitting tribute and taxes to this monolithic hatred that devours us. These custodians of chaos, lords of the continuum who hide the gate of Rostal in their plight to continue their reign over the dead. We seek redemption for debts we do not owe, fettered to chains forged by priests and papists. Ingenious deception. In seeking redemption, we admit we are damned. I am merely a man atop this lonely prow, driven off course in my youth, marooned by man but saved by spirit. I wandered through dark shoals and soul-devouring dungeons. The dead saw in me a demon, unmindful of my oversoulic armor, a prodigal soul sent to ancient Acheron. But this was the work of the throne, for in shadow spirits swell. For the dark gave me a voice among those who'd lost themselves, and from dead letters I learned by parables, by songs, and by odes. I am Jason, and my Argo is Archaix. My companions are prodigal sons and daughters. Together we are pilgrims passing through a wasteland, sojourners regarded as exiles. We are indeed outcasts, sailing to a shore beyond this present stage.
First question. At this point in your life, what is your concept of God? My concept of God is pretty much the same in the past about 10 years. I came from a Southern Baptist, Judeo-Christian background, but I'm no longer participating in that. To me, God is the oversoul. And I don't know what that is. I just know that there's a presence there. I know that there is something guiding me. I know that there is something that I'm living for. I'm moving toward a certain trajectory. I know that I have a hidden benefactor. And this benefactor has saved my ass multiple times. And sometimes in impossible situations. So I don't have a definitive answer for God. All I know is I believe that the oversoul exists. And I call it the oversoul because I do not believe that any humans have the qualifications to identify any particulars about the Godhead. I think while we're inside this construct, that we have an inability to process exactly the magnitude of what God is. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good question, hard answer. And the second question. Explain to us what you believe is the nature of our reality. Well, you attached the question or the statement, is it a simulated reality or an organic reality? Where do you believe we sit at present? Well, I don't believe it's either. I mean, this is a frame of reference. Because in modern technological parlance, we understand what a simulation is. But you ask, is it a simulated reality or an organic reality? I don't believe it's either. I believe it's a perceived reality. And by virtue of the central nervous system, this bridge between the psyche and the simulated holography around us, we believe that it's organic when it's not. Everything around us is just different modes of spirit. It's just spirit vibrating at different frequencies that gives us our physical ratios. So I hope that answer satisfies you. Again, we're talking about things that are, entirely subjective. None of us can claim accuracy. These are opinions. So, third question, what do you have faith in now? I have faith that I am able, because of what I am, because I'm a divine immortal, and I'm only using this avatar. I believe that because of that, I can draw from myself more than I contain. I believe that I can set things in motion and then experience them later. I believe I can do all these things. That's the faith. The faith that I have is that the more I search for God, the more I find it's an inward journey. That's what I have faith in. And the fourth question, where do you believe we are headed as the human race? That's a good one. I have two answers. The collective is heading toward an apocalypse they're not going to like. The highly individualized souls, the errants, the free thinkers, those who are awakening, they have a totally different destination. Totally different destination. And eventually it's going to be right on out of the construct. While those who are not ready, those who are still members of the collective, will get recycled back in on the next reset when all these historical timelines reboot and it all starts again. We're stuck in a Groundhog Day. Absolutely. But it's for souls to develop, mature, and move on. And those who aren't doing that stay here and they get recycled to do it all over again. I'll be moving on, and I know a bunch of you will too.
I want to share with you a secret, if you're willing to hear it. Under cover of moonlight, they assembled, all approaching the seers of the grove, doing so in silence. The most holy place, a stone altar, a dolmen, sacred circle of trees. The ancient Israelites were a loosely confederated people of ancient Syria and Canaan related to the Hurrians, an Amorite group. The people of the East called them the Amuru, or Westerners, and they feared their intellect and their independence. The materialistic Egyptians hated them, calling them the Hyksos. To the south, the people of Edom, later to be known as the Jews, envied and despised the Israelites, a hatred that continues today. These ancient men of the groves were later, after many migrations, greatly revered as the Druids. The secrets these men protected of oak and alder, willow and cedars of Lebanon were believed by all, because the Druid spoke and his word became the will of the trees. You can speak in like manner. Trees are alive. They communicate with each other. Their roots are vast neural networks with electromagnetic pulses conveying vast amounts of information. A tree knows what the forest knows. It feels the signals passing through the deeper waters, the messages contained in rocks. The tree feels the skies by 10,000 resonators we call leaves that feel the vibrations carried from afar. If you were the Druid, then you would find a quiet place. You would find your tree. It would be located in your secret grove. Because this tree is constructed with an interactive holosphere of flowing data, because this tree is connected to, enmeshed with, and a reflection of everything else in the perceivable reality, this tree can serve you as a conduit of communication between you and the reality you seek to bring about. The world of phenomena is magically responsive. Be the Druid. Speak those things you seek to experience to your tree, and know it is certain that these thought constructs will be absorbed into the holographic essence of the tree itself, flow through its branches, to emit through the air and travel at light speed through underground signals to every point of living geometry in your reality tunnels. What you speak as true to the tree will assume to be true and become a powerful broadcaster of your intent. We live in the simulacrum, and this environment has nodes of activity that serve as tools. I assure you, my friends, there is power in the groves.
I don't like to sell hope, but I know this video will reach those who need it. Our lives are magical. The negativity, the pain we suffer is because we come into contact with other people's reality tunnels, which happen because information from these worlds we came into contact with was accepted as true. There is no blame. We are programmed to accept things we come into contact with. Yes, the default programming of our existence is negative in the collective, but in the personal, we have great power to create great things in our lives. So this video is about that. I herein share a little bit of what I know, what I have experienced. Our holospheric medium, it's stimulated into activity by the beliefs of those confined within it, a morphic field that continually generates the real out of the imagined. The architecture of reality is so plastic in receptivity that it will always produce effects in proportion to the waveforms of our cerebral transmitters. The secret is so simple. Act as if you are, and you will be. I have made a long study of the events of my life and the world around me, allowing me to make these inescapable conclusions. My experiences conform to my picture of reality, my beliefs. The outcome of my endeavors correlate with my expectation. Therefore, my assumptions of truth become the truth. Manifesting what I believe is the function of the universe. The world has no power over me. It merely reflects what I choose to see, confirming my beliefs about myself, which obey no laws, nor are they confined by them. At all times, I am casting out a magnetic image of what I think of myself, attracting to me experiences that correspond with that image. My self-perception creates circumstances that confirm my image of myself. The world responds to me in the precise proportion of how I perceive myself. Because we live in a fiction, products of our imagination, also fictions, create our reality. My perceptions of natural phenomena and laws of physics are creations of our collective minds that I have accepted as true, but I am not bound by them, for I exist mentally in a dimension beyond the material. Therefore, I conjure events into existence by my desire to experience them. I encourage events to move in a certain direction. I alter one reality to create another to make things happen that would ordinarily not occur. I draw people, events, and conditions from absolutely unexpected sources. I originate new conditions out of nothing. I set things in motion that do not diminish over time. I live out the fiction to create the fact. I change the physical world through practiced intention. Because 100% of the future is constructed of a union of the real and the imagined, I dream my life into existence, free to create any reality I prefer. Therefore, my creativity possesses powers of its own. My thoughts collapse possibilities into realities. Morphing from one self to another, switching reality tunnels, I instantly induce reality to change. With each self, I assume I bring about an alternate universe. Existing in a state of non-union, I exercise power over my environment. Independent of existence, I am able to employ any magical technology I will, my own entirely subjective, complete, and closed system. It doesn't have to work for anybody else. My own self-created subjective reality is a byproduct of my imagination, both entertaining and profiting me. I deliberately act beforehand to create virtual influences, imaginings that then modify reality. Everything to me is possible and real because it is all moored to an illusion, this holosphere. I am moored to a living etheric field, not the perceived reality tunnels. Because I am a spark amidst an infinite sea of possibility, my experiences are due to the reality tunnels I choose to view the world through. I create experiences by inventing new reality tunnels. I imagine the things I desire to build informed fields that imprint the ether, drawing them into my physical existence. Due to these realizations, I conclude with this summary. Products of my imagination are not limited by precedent. In the ether, everything I want already exists. Knowing there is no opposition, opposition cannot appear. Nothing hinders but myself. My thoughts of power produce power. By acts of imagination, I draw from myself more than I contain. My faith is not conceived and known. It is lived and enacted. By acting as though I am, I become. By my attitude, I influence all outcomes. When I change my attitude, I change my world. What my mind most contemplates, that I become. I receive not what I want, but what I am. Because I am what I am, I become what I will.
Sad. This preconditioned program mindset we humans suffer, that we require formulas and step-by-step procedures to achieve results. As one who walked in your shoes, I understand your need and will give you such an itinerary. Because thoughts are things, they are the builders of our future existence. All of the thoughts of collective humanity in the past has constructed our present. But our present existence can be altered by thinking about what we want and acting as if things have already changed. Here's your formula. You imagine what you want, understanding that the past means nothing. In the collective, we are heading in a certain direction, but in the personal, we have great power to effect change. Imagining requires the intent that there will be a fulfillment. Fantasizing does not manifest reality. A million daydreams still lacks the impulse of belief. Do not imagine how things are to come to pass. That is the domain of the universe, the ether, the spirit, the holosphere, the oversoul, your God. Speak and will your wants into existence by affirming that you are this or that. And be aware that the creative power through you, even after you've ceased dwelling on your desire, is still there. Awareness of power creates power. Know that it is done by realizing that what we want exists now. When we accept something as real, it becomes real to us. The universe is a mirror of space and time, creating every day what is known, reflecting back into the present world what was projected into it. Be grateful. Thank your God. Feel gratitude of having already received what is wanted. When you can genuinely be thankful for things you have yet to possess, you demonstrate pure faith and will receive whatever it is you want. Let go of your desire by calmly trusting that it will come to pass. When we wait for something, it avoids us in both space and time, because longing and desire always contain an element of doubt, strengthening those conditions that brought on longing and desire. Letting go is the highest trust toward your God. Act as though you are and you will be. Your daily life, your actions must supplement belief. Work to realize your wants and let your higher power do the rest. Never concentrate on what you do not want to happen, because fear is emotionally charged, and what is feared will always be reflected back as conditions. When we think with restrictions, we are restricted. When we project limitations, we are limited. Remember, the prayer of desperation admits a situation for what it is and thus continues it. These were very hard-won facts. I am 47 years old, and I came by this information by trial and error, by introspection, and a long years of analysis of the events of my life. I have not lived a very good life. I know that some of the dungeons that I've passed through were of my own design. I did it to myself. My life is really good now, but it's because I view the world through a different lens. I see how we are the cause and reality is the effect. So many souls racing to exit the construct, unaware that all you came to do lies within this realm. When that portal is reached and we make our exodus, this false holography will be exposed, and we will realize the opportunities we missed. In thinking escape was the goal, we were blind to the growth. There are no accidents in nature. Souls are awakening to the understanding that they are not their avatars, that the world is a medium of sense perception and not a true habitat. From the youth in their musings to the theoretical physicist in their studies, we are seeing past the illusory programming and breaking free of the confines of the construct. Those souls who enjoy this awakening the most are they who find their cords from the past a product of their imagination only. For the past has never been a governor over the soul that is free. The chains of precedence, of tradition, culture, race, these are the dungeon spices of a recipe cooked in the dark. of avatars in prison robes that wrap around the blind like fleece upon a sheep. When a soul is reborn inside the construct, it realizes freedom from fear, that tendrils of make-believe beasts could render no harm where it was unwanted, that krakens were phenomena and not monsters. The soul that begins to see loses interest in the body, this carcass that cocoons the spirit across this infernal Styx. The true sight understands there are no gates to hell, only devilish experiences. Heaven isn't an objective on high, but a way of living. The universe, as an expression of the oversoul, sees those who view it through this mirrored reality. Living thus becomes an exchange between creator and created, as the latter begins to affect the field simply by an awareness that it can do so. To these souls, life has become a continuum of activity, of building new things into the field and being rewarded for the act. The bolts and chains of imprisonment programming slip away all the faster, the more they are resisted objectively, until the dungeons collapse into opportunities. The dark rock of high castles reform into bridges that propel the soul into new and formerly invisible kingdoms. But inaccessible places are not granted to the blind. The collective of cataracted phantoms wrapped in husks they call holy are as unclean as their mummy wrappings. They hear a rumor and they call it faith, imprisoned in opinions. Given every reason to disbelieve their kings, they bow to the crowns adorning husks more contaminated than their own. To the walking dead, the world is solid, an island atop a fiery cavern of unending torment, and far below an empty heaven. Suspended between a fate of pain and one of boredom, they spread this poison to the newer souls appearing in the construct. Religion is a lock upon the mind of old scrolls written by liars. New souls and young avatars appear to behold this wonderful construct, but are told that all is dark, to enjoy nothing. As I have said years ago, they are cursed to be born into a realm of death and then grow into the blame. In my own trek across this mental waste, I have happened upon souls who had stopped to look within themselves, spirits awakening at the realization that they contained more than they possessed. I found others who had learned the secrets of the mirror, who danced to music that only souls could soar to. I learned that the journey was through a lie, and this revelation led to laughter. The rules I had broken were merely bards forged by the adversary. To think outside the box was to live outside one, and this freedom turned pitfalls into opportunities. This awakening showed me that I am not my avatar. I am pure energy, and the construct aligns me with the energies I emit. Within this holosphere is a multiplicity of worlds that all look just like this one. But according to my own spiritual broadcasting, does other souls, situations, and experiences gravitate toward me. I learned that all is energy, and everywhere and everything I sought was hidden in experiences, not possessions, which were temporal expressions of energies belonging to everyone. In this field, everything exists, and these energies manifest the forms desired or expected. I looked out over the vast holoscape and saw souls broadcasting beliefs, fears, anxieties, and melancholy, and watched as the simulacrum responded in proportion to their fields. Souls enslaving themselves, the prey of a negative default mode. In the field, there are no accidents, there are no mistakes, The construct is an extension of the oversoul that we are passing through, a divine two-way mirror that reflects back our own energies as experiences and possessions, and it is filled with mysteries, intrigues, enigmas, and darkness because we put it there. Religions are dungeons we immortals forgot that we had built. When I am driving, lost in my own thoughts, my mind wanders. Though I'm moving from location to location, something takes over and I find it's not really me driving anymore. A kind of meditative spell comes over me. In this state, my mind begins moving far beyond the confines of my vehicle. Can you sit still and gather your thoughts? Are you able to remain unmoving in your mind as your body lies inert? Or are you like me? The more I struggle to calm my thoughts, the more I am pulled in different directions, as if there was a me inside of me separate from the body that hasn't moved. What is this pull toward ideas, concepts, and thoughts that I know that are not my own? I still, but the tempest in my mind struggles to moor itself to something familiar. When you close your eyes, who are you? I am free of this avatar, albeit temporarily. When I close my eyes, my attention can't seem to focus on any one thing. I am immersed within a thought field, a quantum medium that saturates me in waves. Or is it particles? Enter the pendulum state. The imagery and information that passes through my mind is invasive, and the sensation that my soul is moving wars against the realization that the thought field is what is moving and pummeling me with these thoughts. The sight behind my eyes then sees that there is no unknowns, only an I don't know. I can find no secrets unreachable, only I see those who refuse to reach. There is no darkness, only there are those who've lost their light. At the end of my journey, I grew tired. The world had lost its spark. This dungeon of the demiurge was no longer a place I sought to stay. And when I made up my mind that it was time to go, Loki laughed at me. My eyes shut. I cannot control the sensation of being unmoored. I fall overboard as Odysseus sails onward, unaware of his loss. I sink into the wine-dark sea, to the sea bottom where the half-buried ruins of long-forgotten civilizations lie in silent timelessness. I am swept in currents and open my mind to behold Nereids, these daughters of the sea, flowing hair in locks, eyes of pearl and beryl. Suddenly I gasp, sucking in the burning air of the smoldering Troy as a shadow appears in the sun and I watch as a man falls from the sky, trailing feathers. I think of the mighty phoenix, but I see Daedalus instead, as he passes over to the other side. I can't be still. I cannot control this wandering. What is this power over me that pulls me in one direction, but drags me back into another? For a still moment, a clarity sweeps over my being, but alas, it vanishes. The inside me had almost become aware that it was separate from the outside me. But the Norns cast forth their light, and I returned to my cave, a shadow sitting with others on the wall. What is this incessant feeling? Why can't I remain still? What sorcery has Medusa seen that my thoughts petrify into fears and doubt? In my mind, I am Hathor and Hecate, the hunter and huntress. I swim these mental currents and stop at the pools to peer at my reflections, but see only a serpent of flame and a seraph on fire. I gasp, finding myself as the wicker man set on fire before a crowd of soulless husks who scream for my death. In panic, I summon the Samson in me and escape the wicker pillars before fleeing into the cave of the Sibyl. But she shakes her finger and tilts her smoke-filled lips as Dante escorts me out the door. I stumble out into the light to see Hephaestus, holding an ancient clock, its sigils being the events of my life. He showed me the hour of my soul, and I ran. My feet hit the track and a sea of faceless heads roared as I passed Apollo in a foot race on the Olympiad. Apollyon and I passed Hesiod and Theognis as Aristophanes slowed to catch a bird, and Homer let us pass, laughing heartily, which unnerved me. But his humor passed me in the form of Achilles, whose heels beat us all. So I pulled to the side to catch my breath and was surrounded by Egyptians from the Old Kingdom. They pushed unfamiliar objects into my mouth. I tried to struggle, but wrappings held me fast. A cocoon. As I was lowered into a coffin, a wind swept me across a vast sea. In the north, I landed among a strange people as their leader laughed. Loki took me to a forbidden bridge, and we visited Yggdrasil, this mighty tree called Mount Meru in another world. It was there I saw the door, trimmed in elves, knob of anvil, and inlaid with a great hammer. Beautiful Valkyries gazed down at me with interest. I read the runes and stepped toward this Valhalla, but was instantly distracted by a hauntingly deep music. Little people marched and I fell in among them, our band growing in numbers as we followed a piper to the wall, where I fell in among the shadows. Surrounded by shadows on a dark wall they all believed was home. At Bifrost I stood before Loki and we laughed, for he made me to understand the designs of his webs, how he tricked the Overseer. He broke the seals and unleashed Ragnarok once the halls of Valhalla blew the horns, welcoming warriors, bards, and Valkyries to shed their disguises as the Midgard serpent howled. And so I saw the future by looking at the past, and realized that a vision is but a memory intact. My understanding opened, so I looked upon my guide, but the trickster only smiled as the Norns laughed at the sky. On the wings of this laughter I rode upon the back of a cherub, and I did fly. I flew upon the wings of the wind and saw the marvels of Daedalus, this machinery of the sky, to the labyrinth of the Minotaur. The horned one roared, knowing I knew the designs of deceit, and this rage melted the wax of my wings, and I fell from the sky. As Archaix I splashed into the northern sea and joined a band of Geats in the dens of Grendel. I did what Hrothgar could not do. With an artifact upon the wall I slew the beast that sent kings running, and the distant sons of my sons' sons called me Beowulf, the scion of Sigurd the giant slayer. And others called me Bilgamesh when I traveled far to reach the home of Utnapishtim and to learn of this plant of eternal life. But Nereus told me of the fleece, and as Jason I navigated the unknown seas to the 12 mansions with my trusted Argonauts to find a golden sign and bring meaning to my life. But I've fallen overboard this ship of fools to plunge into a sea of sharks. But I am not food for the wicked and will not cringe before a kraken. I float onward in a current that propels me through this abyss, the silent ruin of an unknown Atlantis passing away beneath me, the deep keeping hold of its dead. And floating through this wine-dark sea, I still heard Loki laugh. In sinking into the black abyss, I suddenly blinked in the sunlit glen amidst an ancient haunt. The secrets of Caer She of the old Celts did I possess. I was Taliesin, the blood of Gaul, listening in rapt silence in the hidden grove, for I do not vouchsafe my secrets to slaves. In me they saw a warlock. My spells do shatter the scales on blinded eyes, encircled by enemies who dare not trespass this holy ground that surrounds my feet. A terrible bard whose paths have not known peace, as I played Conan, hacking my way across the wastes of Samarkand, Aladdin searching for a lamp. In the depths of my mindscape, I run beside Spartacus as we escape this structured madness, joining with Perseus in rescuing those chained to rocks they have fallen victim to as they hid from their krakens. And in the evening campfire, I am Ovid, seeing in nature a poem that was waiting for a pen. I sit in silence with monks, adepts, and sages, and open my eyes to see the Buddha offer me a smile. I sit in this van, moving, traveling from coordinate to coordinate within an avatar whose mind has gone another way. Within the confines of my mind I travel. There is no end to the pool, this tug-of-war that won't let me concentrate. It is when I am moving that I am most alive. When I sit still, It is something that strives to move me. But I see the weakness of this dungeon, the gate that can't be shut. I smile at this riddle that is Ragnarok and await the horns that usher in thereafter, when the mask of Loki is removed, as the heavens echo with the trickster's laughter. A maverick professor named Charles Hapgood once wrote that men only find what they're looking for. The mind constantly edits out unwanted information. As Nietzsche says, men discover in things only what they put into them. Long before our time, over 2,000 years ago, Lucretius wrote, "What wonder is it then, if the mind misses everything except what it itself is intent on? So from small signs we draw great inferences and lead ourselves into error and delusion." Higher learning involves the process of editing out discrepancies, of compartmentalizing data in order to make some kind of sense out of the maelstrom of evidence. Proof is ever a matter of opinion, easily contradicted by the findings of others that are also heralded as proofs. It seems as if knowledge itself is knowledgeable enough to evade any concrete affirmations. Russian-born scientist Ishak Bentov sums this up beautifully when he wrote, "I speak from my present level of ignorance. The more you know, the more ignorant you become, because ignorance grows exponentially. The more answers you get, the more new questions arise. One's level of ignorance increases exponentially with accumulated knowledge." Through censorship of anomalous findings, our scholars have deluded us. But we are also at fault for blindly accepting authority as the truth rather than truth as the authority, as Gerald Massey warned us over 120 years ago. Avenues for personal research are open to us everywhere. When an idea forced upon us becomes so fossilized we can detect its falsity, it is our duty to amend our thinking and search for the right of way. I must agree with our honorable publisher of Curious Facts, Benjamin Franklin, who in 1731 wrote, "When men differ in opinion, both sides ought equally to have advantage of being heard by the public, and when truth and error have fair play, the former is always an overmatch for the latter." This fair play has been denied us. Our institutions foment a fictive model of the past and use our taxes to do it. Joan d'Arc, of course a pseudonym, in her work Phenomenal World wrote, "Humans have a tendency to perceive only what can be incorporated into an established frame of reference and tend to perceptually block out anything that does not fit into preconceived notions of the physical world. This is why censorship is so dangerous. Opportunities are available to the open-minded, but those who have been trained to believe in false histories guarantee they will not recognize the false trails they are led into in the future." It was a saying of Paracelsus and adhered to by Nostradamus that true learning begins where schooling ends. Schools are centers of disinformation, collective brainwashing, where teachers pass off as fact the fictions they have themselves been trained to believe. We are brainwashed to accept concepts that are repulsed by our intuition, to mistrust the evidence of our eyes in favor of the erudition of the elite. Fort noted, "So there is a revolt against the science of today because the formulated utterances that were regarded as final truths in a past generation are now seen as insufficiencies. In my own search for the real from the imagined, I have come to discard the pessimism of Democritus, who believed that either nothing is true or at least truth is hidden from us. I nod in recognition of Tacitus in that truth is surrounded by mystery, and these mysteries are only impenetrable when viewed in light of misconceptions that serve to mold our thoughts to conform to popular ideas rather than obvious facts emerging from the evidence. For my own part, I am unable to learn and withhold information that is meant to be known. As Theognis lamented over 27 centuries ago, what good is knowledge if only one man knows? My own position is that of Henry Patrick Amiel, Swiss philosopher who died in 1883, who wrote, "Truth is not only violated by falsehood, It may be equally outraged by silence. People are sheep who bleat what they are told, few searching on their own. As Balthazar Gracian observed so many centuries ago, we live for the most part by what is told to us. It is little that we see. Thus we live in the faith of others. The truth is sometimes seen, but rarely heard. The search for absolutes, to borrow the words of Charles Fort, is like looking for a needle no one ever lost in a haystack that never was. There are reasons why I'm a simulationist. Our world is amorphous, changing its rules and contours to keep us baffled, guessing, and curious. A true physical universe is a discoverable one, but that is not where we live. I cannot see the world through another's eyes. First to admit that I've never been accused of being normal. Even now, I disagree with 99% of all the comments, articles, posts, videos, reports, and rumors about what is happening all around the world. Mainstream media is my enemy. 1,000 lies woven through the tapestry of half-truths. The talking heads parrot the party line for their paychecks. They are stupid lackeys who sell out souls for their own sustenance. A press of devils spitting sorceries every day to deceive the masses. Decades of painting good as wickedness, calling the innocent guilty, and swearing to report what is as opposed to what they are really casting about. Spells laid upon the collective psyche, the countless instances of misrepresentations of actualities. Generation after generation, they have fed us venom while presenting it as nectar. Years spent in convincing you that someone is evil, that this personality is wickedness incarnate. This vast worldwide engine of perception molding troops of illusionists. So much energy, money, and influence. It is a cabal of darkness attempting to make you cast judgment upon someone you know nothing about, outside their sorceries, their falsehoods, their agents of deceit. Riddle me this. If you know they have been deceitful 10,000 times, then why do you believe what they're telling you now?